Welcome to the Bike Guru. In this video we will show you how to set up properly your rear derailleur or rear mech as some others call it. Well, now talking about the rear derailleur tuning, let's see how we know that our rear derailleur needs some tuning. First of all, there might be some clicking noises or some grindings in the rear derailleur, so if you hear something like this, you know that it's time to set it up. Now, the only tool we need to set it up properly is a crosshead screwdriver, like this one. Let's see the screws that we need to focus on. The first one is this one, that has a H letter next to it, that indicates that we need to set up the chain not to come off of the right side of the rear cassette. The other one is the L screw. The L screw sets up properly the rear mech so that the chain doesn't come off the biggest sprocket from the left side. And finally, we're going to focus on this one. This is the B tension screw that adjusts the height of the derailleur or the distance from the cassette. Well, the first step is to shift to the highest gear so that the chain comes to the smallest sprocket. The other step is to extract this cable from the mounts on the frame, and you need to push the derailleur inside like this and pull the cable out so that the cable doesn't affect the movement of the rear derailleur. Well, now when you pedal, you might see that the chain wants to come off of the right side of the rear cassette, and if it's the case, you need to set up properly the H screw. The H screw in our case is the top one. If you turn this screw clockwise, then the rear derailleur is going to come to the left side, moving to the biggest sprockets, so that the chain will not come off. If in your case the chain doesn't go to the highest gear, then you need to undo the H screw or turn it counterclockwise. You have to be careful about the amount of turning the screw so that you don't overdo it and the chain goes off the rear cassette. Let's see an example where we turn the screw clockwise while pedaling. And as you may see, the gear has gone on the left. The rear derailleur has shifted from the last to the previous one. Now, turning this screw counterclockwise, our rear mech has shifted back to the top gear. The best setting is to have it screwed properly so that the chain up here is fully aligned with the chain down here on the derailleur and doesn't push the chain left or right when it sits on the top gear. Now, going to the L screw, we need to push the derailleur to the left so it will make it easier to fit back this cable to the frame. The next step is to pedal and shift the gears going to the biggest sprocket. In the front chainring, you will have to have the gear set to the middle one. Now, focusing back to our screws, in our case, the L1 is the bottom one, so you will follow the same process as we did before. If you screw this time the L screw, if you screw it clockwise, then the chain will be limited coming to the right side. And if you unscrew it or turning it counterclockwise, then the chain will go to the left. If you overdo it, which means turning the screw more clockwise than it requires, then the chain will go to the second sprocket. In this case, you need to undo it and go back to the first sprocket. our target, like before, is to have the chain properly aligned on the top of the cassette and on the bottom. There must be a line that is not curved. Well, another important step is to check if the rear derailleur hanger that fits the rear derailleur to the frame of our bike is fully straight. If you have it bent, which is often caused by having our bike fallen from the stand or something else, you need to try to repair it by straightening up, or you have to replace it. In most cases, this is made out of aluminium, so if you try to straighten the bent one, there is a possibility that this will break off. So you will need to buy a new one if you have one that is bent a lot. Well, now let's focus on fine-tuning the gear changes. First of all, we have to find the screw that adjusts the cable tension. In some cases, it's located to the rear derailleur at this spot, while in some other cases, like mine, it's located at the front shifter. This is the screw that we're interested in. Turning this screw clockwise, the cable tension will loosen up, while turning it counterclockwise, the cable tension will rise up. Now let's see an example. We have the chain set to the middle sprocket and we need to shift up, which means setting this to go to the smallest sprocket. We click once the front shifter, but nothing happens, so we need to adjust properly the tension on the cable. In our case, we need to undo the screw so that the tension will go down, and we're pedaling while we're doing this. And we see that our chain goes to the proper gear. Now, going up and down our rear cassette, we see that we have a problem here. Having our front shifter set to the second gear, we have our chain sitting on the third one. So, in our case, we need to go up with the tension by undoing the screw or turning it counterclockwise while we're pedaling. We did it, so let's see if it's properly set. We need to do it a little more. Now we have a lag here going from the fourth one to the third one. So we need to turn the screw counterclockwise to rise up the tension. Just a little bit, a quarter of the turn. In the last gears here we have a small lag. The last step is to check the B-tension screw. We need to shift back to the first gear. The screw we need to check is this one. It's located back here, next to the H and L screws. If we turn the B-tension screw clockwise, then the rear derailleur will come down, going away from the biggest sprocket. And if we turn it counterclockwise, then it will come closer to the biggest sprocket. Adjusting this screw is very important because if you have the right distance between the biggest sprocket and the rear derailleur, the gears will shift immediately. else you get some lag in shifting gears. In our case, the distance is quite a bit, so we need to undo the screw to make it come closer. In some cases, if the rear derailleur, this pulley, the upper one, is too close to the rear cassette, to the biggest sprocket, you will hear some clicking noises. This is the right distance that needs to have between the upper pulley and the biggest sprocket. Thanks for watching our video. We hope you enjoyed our lesson and had a great time. Clicking here, you will subscribe to our channel and get informed every week that we upload a new video. Have a great time and get your bike out.